I'm delighted to be your host today, and we've got some great stories lined up for you. If you're listening for the first time, then this is what is really the heart of Relive, the stories. This is what motivates people to either be on the products, get involved in the business. It's just a great way to show people what Relive is all about. Now, Relive itself is a 26-year-old food science company, and it operates using network marketing because that's the best way, where we can actually, as distributors, help people get the best results either from the products or from the business or both. So I'm not going to mess about any longer. I'm just going to go ahead and invite the people to share their stories that we've asked on the call. These are just regular people who have had some great results, and they want to share that with you all. So first of all, I'm going to go over to the States, to Marcia. Marcia, I know you've had some incredible changes to your life since you started on Relive, but if you could just share with everybody what happened before, what your situation was, and now what's happened since you've been taking Relive.
Well, thank you so much. Like you said, my name is Marcia Daniels from Oklahoma City, and before Relive, we thought I was suffering from being overexposed to blood pressure medicine, but what we found out, 1 June 2011, I had gas leaking in my home, and it was leaking for a number of years, and I had extreme loss of energy, I had memory loss, couldn't sleep at night, went into depression, and had thoughts of suicide. And even though I was drinking more than 5 gallons of water in 2 days, I still couldn't sweat, I couldn't empty my bladder, I had colon pain, and my diet reduced to the point where I could only eat green food. Well, I began taking Relive, and I got results. It doesn't happen that way for everybody, but I got results with the very first shake. And as I took the product consistently, I got my energy back, and I could sleep at night, and the depression lifted. And the thing is, Relive allowed me to function. And what that means is I was able to get out of my home and go places, do things, and basically breathe fresh air. And I truly believe that, combined with the product, is what saved my life. And 1 June 2011, after we detected the gas and got it corrected, I got even more results. My energy was off the chart. My sleep was just unreal. It was just phenomenal. And my blood pressure leveled out. My memory improved. And I was less dehydrated. And I know that because I was able to drink 2 of Relive products that I couldn't drink before. And my biggest blessing is I was able to emerge from all of that totally medication-free. And as I continued to take the product, I continued to get results with things that happened to me on active duty, that degenerative joint disease in my neck, and my back, and sciatic nerve in the right leg, and just joint pain in my knees and feet. If I take my shakes consistently, I'm totally pain-free. I can function, and nobody would know. Nobody knows. Nobody's the wiser.
Wow.
Yeah.
Marcia, that's amazing, and I'm sure you do take your shakes regularly in order not to get those pains back. Well, that is a great story, and how inspiring for everybody to hear all those things that have happened and put right for you. That's wonderful. So thank you so much for sharing your story.
Absolutely. I'm truly blessed.
Well, now I'm going to hop back across the pond over here to the UK, to Jane. Jane, you too have a great story, and I was just telling you when we first hopped on the call just how much your voice has changed in the time I've known you. So would you like to share with everybody where you were before Relive and where you are now? Can you, I can't hear you, Jane, so just press *6 if you're having a struggle.
I'm really happy to share my story. So, it all started 10 years ago when I had a mental breakdown. And like your last caller, I suffered clinical depression as a result. 9 long years of depression. I was practically housebound by the pain in my mind. I rarely left the house. I found any form of communication really difficult. I hated answering the phone. I had insomnia. A lot of nights I just didn't bother going to bed. There was no point, really. I couldn't sleep. I was extremely tired all the time. I tried medications and therapy, but with only limited short-term success, really. And the worst thing was that I lost all hope and often wished I was dead. So then I started taking Relive products. After a week to 10 days, I started to sleep again, which was so wonderful because I got some energy back. I kept taking the products. My mood started lifting, and within 3 months, I was able to go to the Relive conference in France, which was really wonderful. I went with one of my uplines, who now were inseparable. I continue taking the products, so that's over a year now. And bit by bit, I'm progressing. I have had a few spells of depression. I'm not completely depression-free, but they've been very short spells. And my hope has returned. I no longer feel suicidal. And this year I went to the conference. So that's after taking the products for about 15 months. And I actually went up on the stage and told my story to the 1,000 delegates. So that's another big leap up for me, and I feel really good.
Wow, Jane, that is just such a wonderful story. That almost makes me cry thinking about you getting up there on stage. I'm so sorry I wasn't there to see you. Personal stuff that got in the way, but oh my goodness, what a difference. Hey, what a difference a year makes. And
it does.
It's just wonderful.
Watch out, world. Watch out, world. In another year, I think I'm going to go for world domination.
This is just wonderful. I think your story is just, you say you've got your hope back. I think your story will bring hope back to so many people. And, we all need to share it. And I'd just say at this point, this is week 53 when it comes to the recordings. So if anyone wants to go back to the archive and share Jane's story with people, you want to get back on the replay line, and then you want week 53. And Marsha's story so far. We've got some great stories tonight. You're going to want to replay week 53 over and over again to people. And, of course, you can always get back and contact these people directly and get them to share their stories in person. Thank you so much, Jane. I know that it's not that long ago when it would have been difficult for you to share your story at all, let alone on a phone call, and now you can share it on stage in front of 1,000 people. That is just amazing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Leslie. Bye-bye.
Right, now we're going to go back to Michigan, to Nancy. Nancy, you have an amazing story because you're a doctor, or were a doctor. So would you like to share with everyone not just your own story, but also maybe just touch on the difference between drugs and nutrition? That would be an interesting one.
Yeah, well, I'm honored to share. My name is Nancy Couch-Novak, and I'm a retired physician in geriatrics. I still could practice, but I choose not to. So, I'm retired young, and it's a real blessing. But nonetheless, I started these products not really looking for the product or the business, but I got on the products regularly. Actually, it took my friend a bit of time to talk me into doing that. But nonetheless, I thought I was pretty healthy before Relive. I would have cold sores about every month through the winter, maybe more often, frequent sinus headaches, like terrible sinus symptoms, and maybe even a sinus infection after every cold. And colds were, at least a couple of them winter. It seemed like I caught almost every cold going around. I had intermittent problems with a number of different little aches and pains that I just lived with, plantar fasciitis, arthritis in a number of places, a little bit of tennis elbow, carpal tunnel syndrome, intermittent pinch nerve in my right arm. But then I got started on the products. I didn't notice anything big right away. It wasn't the first day for me, but I left town for a long weekend without my product, and I got a really bad cold sore. And needless to say, I went home and took a shake as soon as I could, and now I won't miss a shake. My sinus headaches and sinus infections are now pretty rare, and even if I do get a cold, which is much more rare these days, I really don't have the problems I used to have. It's gone a lot quicker with a lot less of the over-the-counter stuff that I used to use. I used to kind of drag around in the mornings. I don't know if it was sinus headaches or what, but now that's rare for me. I usually can get up and get moving a whole lot better. And I had another thing, developed problems with digestion, was diagnosed as irritable bowel syndrome. And I like to say that when I added one of our focus products for digestion, it took me half the way there. And I had to learn to stay clear of gluten and dairy for the other half of those results. But now, if I do all those things regularly, take my shakes, and avoid gluten and dairy, going for a ride, a long ride in the car after dinner, or traveling where I won't need a bathroom, or even skiing downhill is possible for me. I really hate to imagine how different life would be if not for these products. And the discomfort in some of the places that I, had pains, that plantar fasciitis, the intermittent pinched nerve, and the occasional symptoms of carpal tunnel and tennis elbow are a lot more rare. And I really think that I've been skiing for the last 3 years downhill again, which is a real blessing because my husband and I met in a ski club. And as I've added more product, to take with me on my ski trips, I don't hurt like I used to. It used to be normal to hurt, the second day of skiing and the third day and the fourth. It just continued on, and now it doesn't. And I really wonder what other health problems might be in my future if it wasn't for these products. But then, it comes to the other side of, Relive, which is sharing. And I knew that my results were really substantial enough that I would be on the products forever. But at first, I really wasn't ready to share. I began to listen to more stories, though, and I kind of searched for studies. And we have some clinical studies, but I kept searching for more and more studies and more data. But then I really, somehow I got through the transition and began to listen to more stories and like to listen to the stories. And I began to hear story after story after story about different conditions, and I'll just focus on one, fibromyalgia. I heard 10 stories, then I heard 20 stories, and probably by now 100 stories. And I knew that Relive was doing something amazing for this and for so many other autoimmune diseases, and many other things. But at the same time, I was kind of realizing that if everybody who took Relive took enough of it, or for long enough, they not only got their autoimmune symptoms minimized, but their viral infections, bacterial infections, things like that, were better. So I was kind of struggling to understand how can it help both the autoimmune diseases, kind of the overactive immune system fighting the body itself, and at the same time making the immune system stronger. The drugs that Western medicine gives for autoimmune disease are the types of drugs that maybe a couple decades ago used to be reserved for cancer, the chemotherapy drugs. And that's why, I don't know if you guys have in the UK the commercials for the drugs on TV. The ones that are more expensive, they can afford to have TV commercials. But they give you warnings about TB, fungal infections, things like that, that can be life-threatening. So anyways, I really feel like, how can doctors say that they're following the Hippocratic Oath, which is, it's in Latin, I don't know how you say it, but it's primum non nocere, above all, do no harm. How can doctors really say that they're doing no harm if they're giving something that really can literally kill you before they're trying nutrition and before they're really even studying about nutrition? They're giving drugs like that to young people, to people in the prime of their lives, and some of those people die from those drugs. So I really felt like I had a moral obligation to share these products, and I've tried to learn to use the tools and the education kind of provided by our system to help people. And I think some of the medical people are a little reluctant to learn to share Relive through somebody that's not a medical person above them. But I've really found that the lifestyle change that's required for, incorporating a Relive regimen into your life is shared so much better through just what you mentioned, the people helping people through multi-level marketing, than it would be if, a doctor wrote a prescription for a drug and expected that person to be compliant with 2, 3, whatever times a day. So it really helps to have a Relive distributor to share the products, and I've really begun to see the wisdom in how our company has been set up so that people can begin to incorporate the Relive products and kind of unwrap the gift of health that can come with optimal nutrition. So now I can help people to be healthier without having to work some of those crazy hours, without having to be on call. And I really think in addition to the income that I can generate, I have a 6th avenue of income, which is really the friends that we make in Relive, and that really is priceless. And I will never again leave town without my products.
Well, it's nice to hear that, Nancy. And thank you so much for sharing your story. It's really, it's very uplifting for perhaps new people listening to hear you from your medical background and see what you found. It's one thing, none of us are able to say what you've just said, so it's really nice to hear it from you.
You're welcome.
That's how you feel. So thank you so much for sharing for us today. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. It's an honor.
Thank you. Well, now, as Nancy mentioned, there is a business opportunity here, and we have somebody on the call who is going to share not only their health story, but also what's happened to them with the business, because very often the business and the health results are intertwined, and for some people it can create an income probably beyond where they expected. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce Dan Utz to the call. Dan is a presidential director with Relive, which means that he's impacted a lot of lives. So Dan, would you like to come on and share with everybody just what's happened for you?
I would love to. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can, Dan.
Wonderful. We've got this technology working. Thanks to Joni. Well, good evening. My name is Dan Utz, and my wife and I do the business with Relive because we both found that Relive did some amazing things for us. We began because we needed to take care of the energy that was disappearing on us, and the brain fog was coming in, and dealing with some depression issues from my wife and I both. And, sometimes we wonder what an answer to prayer looks like. And this was that for us. And somebody, after we were using it for a while, we saw these results. And someone mentioned that this is common sense. And I thought about that and said, well, I'm larger than my wife, so maybe common sense would be that I should take 3 shakes instead of 2. So I did that, and when I looked back over a little bit of time, I discovered that the acid reflux with the heartburn and the restless leg that wants to jump and run at night when you're trying to sleep, that those issues, they just disappeared on me. And it was like, my goodness, if you feed your body appropriately, your body knows what to do with it. What a wonderful thing. And I sustained an injury in my neck from a car accident about 7 years ago. And we began using the products almost 11 years. So just to kind of give you a little time frame. And so about 7 years ago, I had a car accident. And at the end of the day, when the doctors and surgeons got through with x-rays and MRIs, and they said, we don't know how you're able to do what you do with the quality of life that you have because it's not possible from our viewpoint. And when one surgeon after another was telling us this and one doctor after another, I began to understand what Relive was doing for me. They thought I should be crippled. They thought I should be on multiple medications, should have headaches all the time, should be on pain pills to just tolerate life. And my body did shut down, and I was believing a lot of those reports. And I'm a musician. Sorry I didn't introduce myself properly here. I'm a musician. I do ministry with that across. I grew up in Western Canada, and so I go across Canada and the U.S. and some other countries. But I had stopped playing my guitar for 9 months. And I came to this place realizing that Relive was an amazing gift that was given to me and that I could use that to get my body into a good place. And my body would serve me for the rest of my life, and I won't serve it. And what a journey. I think that I live pretty close to normal in the way that I can function in my life. I travel all the time still. And on the other side of the coin is that we have 4 daughters, and our youngest is 17, our oldest is 25. And I actually have a daughter that lives in Wales now, so I'm intrigued with this side of the international call. But the business, I needed the income, and I wasn't sure that this could actually do that. My wife's first check was around $25, and that was amazing to me. And I finally woke up and joined her, and the first year doing business together put $12,000 in our budget, which is not huge, but it was huge for us. It was very significant that this could actually be a good, possible, viable income. And our second year was almost $30,000. By the fourth year was over $74,000, and we were helping people all over the place in different countries. And it takes a life of its own, as you realize once you're with Relive, you never know. So it's just such a wonderful journey, and we became ambassadors, and the company called us and said, wow, congratulations, way to go, check your mailbox. A $2,000 bonus is significant. It's just a wonderful thank you. And, other bonuses for companies are good. A turkey or whatever they give you is good. It means that they recognize you there. And I think the bigger the better. This is a good thing. And to become presidential ambassadors, presidential bronze, I guess is the full title. It just means that we've helped people help other people. And I love that. Somebody gave this picture at one of the conferences. I think it was Jim and Sandy Shaban. And Sandy said, with most of the corporate world, the only way you get ahead is by pushing somebody back or jumping in front of someone else. And with this, the only way you go ahead is by helping other people go with you. And I love that picture. And whether it's the health experience or whether it's the business experience, my pastor shared this with us, and he didn't know what all the encouragement that was going to bring to me, but he said the person with the experience is not at the mercy of the person with the argument. And I said, that's right. My family is important to me. We will build a business with this. We will help people, and I love what we can do. We can change people's lives. We can bring hope. We can bring answers to their prayers, and what a beautiful picture. So I'm just tickled to be on this call, and thank you very much.
Well, we're delighted to have you, Dan. A great story, and I know that there are people listening and people who will listen to the replays, as we say, because we get a lot of people who perhaps can't make it at this time in the evening, and they hop onto the replay number and they can grab these calls later and hear the stories. So it's a wonderful way to spread everyone's stories around the world. And talking about, I am going to call you after the call so that we can talk about Wales and your daughter. So I will do that for you. And just thank you so much for being on the call. I'd like to thank everyone today, Marcia, Jane, Nancy, and Dan, for sharing on this call. It's been a great call. And I'm going to open up the lines so that everybody can say goodbye to each other. And we're going to have another great call next week. So thank you all.
What do you want?
Bye,
Thank you.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for having me.
Bye.
You again, Nancy.
Thank
you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.